Hi, I'm Dick Larson and welcome to the show. My guest today is Reverend McNair Ezzard. Reverend Ezzard is an ordained Methodist minister, and he's also the administrator of a nursing home facility, as well as a longtime student of the Ageless Wisdom. So welcome to the show, McNair.
Thanks, Dick. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you here. McNair, many of us got our ideas about what happens to us when we die and after we die, growing up in an organized religion such as I'm sure you did and I did as well. And so we've developed our belief system about what happens after death, largely based on that, at least going into adulthood. What do you think happens to us when we die?
I think it's a lot different than what we've been led to believe and what we've been taught within the confines of the church. To me, we are souls in incarnation, and that we're on a journey from a low level of consciousness, if you will, to experiencing a much higher level of consciousness, or what some people would call experience of God. And it takes a long time to make that journey. But through that journey, we leave and we come back frequently to this earth to learn lessons. And it's a never-ending process. When we leave this body, we're still alive, still experiencing. So life goes on.
Now that sounds a little bit different than the traditional Christian ideas about what happens when we die. What is your take on those beliefs?
Well, it is quite different, and if this was 400 or 500 years ago, it'd probably be branded anathema and tarred and feathered or burned at the stake, because this idea does go against a lot of what the church teaches about the afterlife and what happens. The church has done a lot of good, giving people a framework to live their lives in, taught people how to live in peace, hopefully, and to learn how to love and to share and to serve each other. But I think it's really missed the ball on the idea of what happens after we die. I don't believe that we die and we're judged by a vengeful God, as we're taught. I don't believe that when we die, if we've lived a bad life, that we immediately go to a place called hell and spend the rest of eternity there. It just doesn't happen like that. And I think as humanity's ability to think things through and science has become more prominent and proving the existence of unseen levels of matter and existence in the world, that people are starting to question this old idea of what happens after we die that the church has presented to us. So I think they've gotten it wrong, basically.
Well, as I understand it, the church's idea is that we have one life, and that when we die, that's pretty much the end. That we are a soul, the soul is eternal, but that's the end of it when we die. And you had well, first of all, before I go to that, I just want to say that it sounds like you're saying we come back again.
We do, repeatedly. Thousands of lifetimes have we had.
That's quite different than the church says.
Yes.
Yeah. You had the good fortune to interview Dr. Raymond Moody, who is the well-known author and researcher into near-death experiences.
I did.
That must have been fascinating. What is a near-death experience exactly?
A near-death experience is where someone is pronounced clinically dead, and within a few minutes or so, they come back to life. Their heart stops, brain functions stop, and they're pronounced dead, but then they end up coming back to life. And they are able to tell to those of people around them, their loved ones, doctors, of experiences they had when they were dead, out of the body.
Okay, so what are some of those typical experiences that you heard when you were interviewing Dr. Moody?
It's a wonderful subject. It's so fascinating, and he himself is a wonderful guy. Some of those characteristics of that experience are a person finds themselves in another body, outside of this body. They might be floating above the body, say if they're in a hospital or something or in a bed, and they're looking down at themselves.
Okay.
They can see the people that are around their body below them. They can hear them talking. They see a tunnel. They start to go down that tunnel. At the end of that tunnel, they see a light, and they very quickly come into that light. They come through the tunnel and enter into that light, and as they do, they see their friends and families, people that have died before them, who are waiting for them to greet them, and they're greeted by them. And this light takes on an individual loving presence about it. And the next thing that happens is this loving presence stands with that person, if you will, and a life review takes place where they see everything on one big screen that has happened to them, everything they've done or said that's affected them and affected other people. After that's over, they are told, or they're given the choice of either, staying or going back to their body. Sometimes they're told that they need to go back to their body. Quite often people want to stay because they experience no pain if they've been having a lot of pain. They experience a newfound freedom from their body that they haven't experienced. But they make a choice to come back to the body, and then they find themselves back in the body, fully aware as they were before they were pronounced dead.
It's interesting that you said that one of the common experiences is that they review their life's experiences and the effects that their actions have had on others. Are they judged? Do they report feeling regret and remorse about things and criticized or judged about that, or
no, not at all. Not at all. That's the thing about it, is when they enter that light, it's just like you're swimming in a sea of love and compassion and understanding. And you yourself are really your own judge. As you look at those experiences that you've had in your life, you see the ramifications of things you've said. You see the ramifications of things you've done to people.
Good and bad.
Good and bad.
Okay.
And not only do you see the effect that it's had on that immediate person, but if you could take as an example, as you throw a rock into a pond and you see ripples rippling towards the shore, that's what happens. When you say something to someone, say it's a negative comment, that has effects beyond that person, and you see the effects that has had on other people and other situations in your life. And the fascinating thing about this also is that quite often what we take to have been our major accomplishments in life, we see aren't really that significant. And the smaller things that we've done or said to help somebody or speak a kind word to someone, those things stand out more prominently when we're doing that life review. But there's no sense of judgment. There's a sense of understanding about what we've been through, what we've done, where we've learned. Have we learned to love? That's the basic message. Have we learned to love? And that's what the review is about. How have we learned to love? Have we accomplished that purpose by being in existence?
People that are interested in reading about this can pick up books by Dr. Raymond Moody, right?
Yeah. His first book was called Life After Life, and he's written a number of books since then.
Okay. They could also pick up a book called Embraced by the Light, written by Betty Eadie, E-A-D-I-E. And in there, she relates many similar experiences and also talks about the ripple effect and seeing, for example, that if she helped somebody, then they went home, they were in a good mood, and they were kind to somebody else, and that made that person feel good, and it just kind of like a domino effect. Same thing with negative comments or negative reactions. And very descriptive and very, very interesting. That is said to be the most detailed, lengthy near-death experience ever recorded, is Betty Eadie's book. And it's a fascinating book, and I would encourage people to check that out as well.